approval of the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Public comment on anything? Anyone? No? Alrighty, then we're moving right on. Action items. First one is to consider approval of purchase of a John Deere 410L backhoe loader. Adam, you're up again.
If you didn't get enough of me in the first round, you got me for two more items, so. This one's, actually, these are both pretty straightforward items. The backhoe is budgeted in the 1921 budget. We have a
1921?
19/21.
Okay.
There we go. This is an item, the existing backhoe that we have is very dated, a lot of hours on it. I think it's a 1996, thank you, Jason. Backhoe that for a couple of years we've been earmarking to replace, and the time is now. As part of this replacement, the dealer, Pape, has agreed to give us a trade-in credit on not another backhoe, but actually our front-end loader, which also is a piece of equipment that's very dated. The plan with that then is that we would actually hold on to the old backhoe for the next year or two, the next 2 years roughly. And then the next budget cycle, we would plan to purchase a new loader. So the hanging on to the old backhoe gives us reasonable capability for the next couple of years to do what the loader, what we would normally use that for now anyway. So all in all, we'll get a new backhoe to do backhoe work. We'll hang on to the old backhoe to do loader work for a couple of years, and then next budget cycle, put in for a loader.
Okay. Any questions or comments?
So you,
Rusty, go ahead.
yeah, you're trading in a loader for this new backhoe. Is that right?
Yeah, more or less. It's the trade-in is included with the purchase price. So that $154,000 includes the credit for
Okay,
backhoe.
and you can get by with the older backhoe.
Correct, yeah,
Rush it,
for
sure.
roughly a two-year period.
I'm fine with that.
All right, do I have a motion? Do you have any comments?
No, it's fine with me.
Okay.
Okay, I move the board approves the purchase of the 2019 John Deere 410L backhoe loader with 4.5L engine and associated attachments from Pappy
Mhm.
Machinery Incorporated in the amount of $154,216.
Do I have a second?
Second the motion?
Okay. Karen?
Commissioner Ranger,
Yes.
Commissioner French,
Yes.
Commissioner Garrison,
Yes.
Commissioner Kalani.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay. Thank you. You need to speak in an Irish accent. That would have been fun.
I don't know how to do that.
Okay, the next one, consider acceptance of Redland Reservoir Number 3 project. Adam, once again.
Happy to report completion of another backbone project, the Redland Reservoir. We built a new 1.25 million gallon steel reservoir, abandoned an old reservoir, and retrofitted the old 3/4 million gallon reservoir. I didn't bring any pictures for once, but you've seen, I think the last backbone update I did, you saw the site pictures, and we talked about which one's the new tank and all that good stuff. The contractor did a great job, really cleaned up the site for us. There were some long-term security problems out there with insufficient fencing and that sort of thing. So all in all, got a really good product, got plenty of storage in the Redland zone now for the foreseeable future. There were a couple of changes on the project. As the board was aware, one of those was the steel tariff price increase that we saw last year, and the board approved a change order in the neighborhood of $73,000 or $74,000 for that. We also added some culvert inlet work on Butterfield Lane, which was related to actually a prior project where we had made roadway improvements, and the property owner requested that we make some additional changes to fill in some of the deep ditch areas on their private road. And that was about $20,000 for that. In addition, there were some other changes that came about through permitting by the county in their development review and stormwater review. They required some revisions in design during construction, and thus some design costs and construction costs to accommodate those changes. So all in all, if you look at the bottom line, we came in under our engineer's estimate, which was 3.2 million. The original contract was with 2KG Contractors was just shy of 2.9 million. All the changes added up to not quite 104,000, and our final contract amount was just under 3 million, 2,995,000 and change. About a 3.6% increase from that original contract amount. We feel that was a very reasonable amount for a project of this scope. So we're very happy with the finished product, and 2KG did a great job. This is one that we also had Murray Smith engineers on doing daily construction management and inspection for us. They did a great job as well. So very happy again with the finished product.
It's all backfilled and landscaped and everything?
Yep, we're done.
We're done, all right, filled and everything.
Yep, it went into operation actually early this year,
Great.
January, February.
Do you have a motion?
Okay, I move to approve the notice of acceptance for the Redland Reservoir Number 3 project to establish the project completion date and authorize the general manager's signature on said notice of acceptance.
Second the motion.
Karen?
Commissioner Anger?
Yes?
Commissioner French?
Yes.
Commissioner Garrison?
Yes.
Commissioner Kalani?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Adam, good job.
Thank you.
Glad
Yes,
that's
very good.
one down. Okay, the next one, consider approval of surplus property, and boy, have you guys been doing fall cleaning. Holy cow.
So in fairness, this is probably a little overkill for the board to be considering, but we thought this would be a good opportunity for us to talk a little bit about the surplus property process. And that's all dictated under your local contract review board rules, which you operate and you are the local contract review board. Within those rules, there are certain things that I can declare surplus, as the general manager or the appellate contracting officer. Below 10,000, but anything over 10,000, I need to get the board's approval. In this long laundry list of stuff, there's only actually one thing that's over 10,000, and that has to do with the wheel loader that we just talked about, that we hope to exchange as part of our trade-in, as part of our backhoe. So we've asked you to approve the backhoe, but now we're going to approve surplusing the wheel loader so that we can actually trade that in, so kind of a two-step process. On the list, real quick, again, it is an extensive list. We actually haven't done this for a couple of years, and so appreciate the help of a number of folks, Jason and his folks pulling some of the syslop stuff. Kama's been very eager to get rid of some of the IT stuff that's been stored up in the sheds. And then, of course, we have some water quality equipment as well that's on the list. So the way the list is broke down is really the first page and third or half, however you want to look at it. That's primarily IT stuff that frankly is no longer of use to us. Most of that material gets donated to Free Geek, and they'll use that for training and schools and so on. The next area, the next table on page 2 is a lot of water quality equipment that frankly just doesn't work anymore. And so, again, a lot of times if we can't get value for it, we look for opportunities to donate that. And so we have in the past donated things to Clackamas Community College to help with their program there as well. And then the last page is a number of items in our sysops department that have outlived their useful life. They don't work, and so we're asking you to declare all of these things surplus so that we can frankly get rid of them and move on. So I don't think there's any big surprises on the list. Things do wear out, obviously, and so as part of that process, we're just asking you to allow us to do our house cleaning. So unless there's any questions about any of the items or what we're doing, staff would recommend you approve declaring all that surplus.
Okay, I move the board approve the listing of surplus property to be disposed of in accordance with Oregon statutes and local contract review board rules.
Second the motion?
Karen, please?
Commissioner Anger?
Yes.
Commissioner French?
Yes.
Commissioner Garrison?
Yes.
Commissioner Kalani?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you. Moving right along.
There's several good boat anchors in there.
I seen that. Number 4, consider selection of special legal counsel for labor negotiations. Todd?
All right, so once again, I'll draw your attention to agenda item 4 in your packet with the write-up. Our current collective bargaining agreement extends through June 30th of 2020. And so as part of that process, we want to be prepared for when that agreement would be expiring. And so the way we did it last year is, of course, we had legal counsel that assisted us with the negotiations of a collective bargaining agreement. And so we just want to be prepared for that. And so as part of that process, we wanted to declare legal counsel, or continue on with the legal counsel that we used last time. Under board policy, the board gets to decide on legal counsel. And so obviously you have Bob as your general counsel, and if we're gonna do anything different from that, then that's something that we're treating it as we want to bring that to the board. The person that we're suggesting is Pierre Robert, who works with the Local Government Personnel Institute. And so, which is an organization that we're actually a member of, and so it's kind of an odd deal. It's not a traditional hire a legal firm in order to provide that service. This is actually a service that they provide to their members at a per hourly cost. Again, Pierre had an opportunity to help us with the collective bargaining agreement that we're currently under. I think things went well. I think both parties cooperated very well in addressing a number of articles and worked well together, and so we're hoping to continue with that same process. Again, this is given the fact that it involves legal counsel that will be guiding the district and the board. This is a decision that we bring to you for your consideration.
Okay, any discussion? Questions? Russ?
Yeah, Pierre Robert is expected to be available during the time we want to be negotiating.
Yeah, he's indicated his interest in working with us. Obviously, one of the things as far as talking about this sooner than later is just to make sure that he's carving out time. He does represent a number of different local governments in these processes.
Okay,
So-
thank you.
Yeah. Any?
Yeah. I'll go with it.
Oh. Okay,
Okay, I'll make a motion then.
you're up.
I move the board approve the use of the Local Government Personnel Institute, LGPI, for labor negotiations.
Second the motion.
Karen?
Commissioner Anger?
Yes.
Commissioner French?
Yes.
Commissioner Garrison?
Yes.
Commissioner Kalani?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, moving right along. Okay, item 5, consider contract award construction services for the Alder Creek Middle School meter project to Emery and Sons Incorporated. And Joe, you're on the hot seat.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Aye.
As your introduction said, I'm here to present a construction contract award. This is a project that we had on the books, or that we prepared early this year. In fact, earlier this year, we came to you and got approval for an easement, which they donated for this meter. We had attempted to, we did contact a number of contractors, large and small, earlier in the year to ask if they would bid on this, knowing that the construction environment right now is very busy and competitive. None of the contractors that we contacted were interested in doing this. And what we were trying to do is get it done before the end of the fiscal year, before the new budget cycle started. Knowing that that was the case, we attempted again. We actually solicited bids from a number of contractors to get it done in July so that we could get it done before the school year started, because we can't do the shutdown while the school's in session. We got no bids at that point in time. And so we considered, what are our options here? How many times do we have to bid this thing in order to get the work done? So this time we solicited a number of contractors, but extended the time frame for substantial completion to the end of the year. That will give us a window during spring break or Christmas break to do the shutdown while school is out of session. This time we got 3 bids, and they're higher than we had hoped, but they're willing to do it, and I think this is our best option for getting the work done.
Why so high? I mean, that's a big difference.
Well, that might be on me for my ignorance of the escalation in cost, the inflation in cost for small work, not really taking into account that for, say, paving, for instance, if you're going to do a small amount of work, they still have to bring in the same amount of equipment and people, so their costs go up. And I really didn't account for that in my estimates. So part of that's on me, part of it's on the environment. I did talk to the contractor after we opened the bids, and he didn't think that they were gouging us. And he said, if you'd made me do this in July, it would have been up near the high end, the other number, the prices.
Good Lord, I don't want to see that.
Well, since it's a small job, was there any way that we could have done it in-house, or we just don't have the staff?
There's a couple things going on with that. One, we don't have a large crew, and that crew needs to be available for main breaks. And so if they're committed, if they're in the middle of a street and they're closing a lane of traffic, they can't just stop. So if we have a main break on 82nd or something, we're stuck. We're calling for help. The second thing is, I don't know if it's legal requirement or whether or not it's, we have a group that monitors us and others that push us to hire private companies to do construction work rather than, and is it a legal requirement?
For certain dollar volumes.
Yeah, so what their focus is that municipalities or small districts like this don't hire up, create crews, and then the private contractors don't get any work. And so this is at that size where it's kind of marginal. Could we or could we not? And we just didn't want to go there.
And this work would be done during Christmas break?
The schedule constraint is really the tie-ins. So we can do the pipeline and set the vault and the meter and everything, but when it comes to shutting the water off to do the tie-ins, we need to do that. And we have some flexibility, and we're looking to the contractor to make a proposal. We're willing to do Saturday work, overtime work, in order to do the work, even after hours at night, when everybody's gone, or Thanksgiving or Christmas break. So we have certain windows that we can do this.
Well,
The
Thanksgiving.
fact
you
that
can only
we
have-
extended it to the end of the year, some of the contractors are coming off their large summertime jobs, and now they're available, they have crews available, and that's why we got bids this time. The high number from Moore Excavating, they're still on a big job, and they actually called and asked, well, can you extend it to spring break? Well, we've already delayed it almost a year, so I didn't want to do that.
Right. Sure. Any other questions or discussion?
Okay.
I just want
Oh,
to say one more
sorry.
thing. This is funded from our capital outlay fund.
Okay.
And this project will use up pretty much all that fund. I just wanna let you know that.
All that fund dedicated
Oh, I
for
know.
meter.
For the large
for the
meters,
large
right, not, pardon me,
The long
yes,
one,
not
yeah,
the whole
long
thing.
one.
You're right, just the one line item for large meter replacements.
For large-
So,
okay.
so we had generally, I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 50,000 each fiscal year, so 100,000 in the, maybe it's a little more than that, maybe 140,
110.
110 for the two years.
I have a couple of questions.
Okay, Rusty, I'm sorry.
Where the work's gonna be done is sufficiently clear of the right-of-way if they put sidewalks in that area, because currently there aren't any.
Correct. It was planned for future widening of the street.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
And
we
then
worked with the county
Will the
to.
meter be able to be read, like from the office or driving by?
Commercial meters are generally radio read, the
Okay.
large meters. So somebody drives by and the number comes up.
Okay,
We do have the easement and the access easement through the property so that we can go up and inspect it, maintain it. We test them every year, calibrate them.
but, yeah, a proper bike path and a sidewalk is gonna encroach into a lot of the right-of-way there, and you're all clear of that.
We're in easement on the school property.
On the school
So in the planning process, we talked to the county, we determined what the classification of the street was, what the curb width was, where the sidewalk would be. And so we did move it out of that future, as much as our crystal ball can tell us.
Much as the county could tell you. All right, thank you.
Brother. Okay,
Okay.
anything else? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Need a motion.
I move to award the Alder Creek Middle School meter construction contract to Emery and Sons Incorporated in the amount of $99,450 and authorize the general manager to sign the completed contract.
Second the motion.
Okay.
Commissioner Answer?
Yes?
Commissioner French?
Yes.
Commissioner Garrison?
Yes.
Commissioner Kalani?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Alrighty, consent agenda. I have a couple of questions, Carol. No, it's just, I want you to know, I do look through these. Twice in this, it says it's union dues, UNINION dues. I can't even pronounce it.
Okay, it's union.
Unis,
It's
thank you
union.
so much for clarification. Union dues, okay. I just want you to know I read it. And my other question was, let's see, where is it? Just out of curiosity, because, oh, here it is. We had, $2,979 to first response for monthly patrol. Where's that at? That's not at the park.
So this is, what page are you looking at real quick?
It's,
It includes.
page
the park,
3.
But it's also patrolling around the admin building.
Oh,
and
okay.
Pump stations and reservoirs.
Oh,
They-
it's-
they
it's
patrol.
everything goes-
Yeah,
oh,
they
okay.
drive around and
It's
patrol
more than
various-
Because I went down and I did see where it was Riverside Park later, but I didn't know where that was. Okay, all right, thank you.
We did do some extra monitoring at Riverside Park, so there were some additional costs associated with that.
Okay.
But this is,
All right,
and then,
Patrol, it's also the monitoring of the building, like the system, as
Right.
well, and fire and all of that.
Oh, okay.
so
It's
we're all
not
hooked
just
up
the.
to that.
Oh, okay.
So it's not just, it's the whole monitoring of the whole security system.
okay. Is there a motion, or does anyone have any other
I
questions?
move to approve the consent agenda, and I think we can just do this by voice.
You can just do.
Second motion.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okey dokey, we're done with that. Yay. Management reports, Mr. Todd.
All right, good evening, commissioners. First off, you've already opened your folders, which is great, and I just want to make sure that you're aware of the many items that were included. You've got a lot more items in your folder this time than normal. So I do want to point out what we've included. First off, with the monthly update that you get every month, there are some things I do want to note in the report, and the fact that we've added some additional detail on some items. First off, I'll draw your attention to page 4 that talks about our financials and gives you that thumbnail approach. One thing to note is that we have added a footnote this go around as it relates to revenue. You will notice our water sales revenue, it was a down year for us. So we did not sell as much water as we've done in the past. And so Carol was able to pull the actual data as it relates to the water sales, and you'll see there it's about a 9.4% decrease from this same time period compared to last year. So that obviously has an impact on revenue, and a lot of that it's something that's been mentioned at meetings and so on by other water providers where they've experienced something similar. So we're not immune to that. On the expense side, I think as a board member, the first thing you would look at when you jump at that is what in the world's going on with personnel services, because it's a lot higher. But I want to remind you that the big influencer there is we've made some significant payments to the public employee retirement system. One, to retire our transitional liability, and then we had a little bit left over that we then put towards the employer incentive fund, where the state matched $1 of ours with 25 cents of theirs to try to help offset our unfunded liabilities. So subtracting out those contributions, everything's a lot more in line. We also, the materials and services have increased a little bit more for this time period, and it's just because we have a number of items that are more front-loaded as far as you paid those items at the beginning of the fiscal year.
Yeah, there's, part of that's a process change. We're trying to get ahead of things that if we pay things, for example, our insurance, we pay that in January for 12 months. So we put half of it in prepaid expense and the other half we expense from January through June. This year in July, we moved that from prepaid to the actual expense account, so it shows in the materials and services. Historically, we've kind of drug our feet and not done that until maybe the second quarter, and then it kind of blends in a lot better. So there's several things like that, general liability insurance and some other things that just got paid earlier in the year, but they cover a larger portion of the year, sometimes the entire year.
So the next thing I want to bring to your attention is we held a work session a while back to discuss different reporting formats as it relates to our capital improvement projects. And so this is the first monthly report that you've seen with this newer format of reporting. And so you'll notice that it's not just for backbone projects, but it looks at all of our capital improvement projects, so our CIP and the backbone projects. And then what it tries to do is illustrate, where we're at within a budget period, but also where we're at within the entire life of the project. That was one of the critical pieces that we wanted to make sure we were doing a good job on, and then give you a current status report. So again, we want to make sure that we're continuing to provide the information that you need, and so this is the feedback that we've received from you as it relates to the work session. But if you have identified things that, gee, this would be helpful, or I need some clarification as it relates to that, please let us know. We have tried to add some footnotes, and so I know, Commissioner Garrison, you had a concern or question about how the funding from Sunrise Water Authority was accounted for in the 152nd Reservoir. So we've added a footnote as it relates to that. So I want to bring your attention to that. And then the last page is your river flow graph. I'll just point out that now that we're in October, and this will be the last river flow graph that we'll include in the packet until later next spring or early summer. So the good news from that is we had a good water year. We didn't approach the trigger levels at any point this year, so that was all good news. So want to spend a little bit extra time with that, and just thank you to Karen and all the staff that compiled the information to be included in this report, and hopefully you find that useful. Another thing I just want to bring to your attention is that we're a member of Special Districts Association, and so one of the services that they provide is to be active in the legislature as far as tracking water-related, just broader legislation that is of interest to special districts. And so for the last session, they did kind of put together a water report, so I just wanted to give you a copy so that you're aware of it. If you got questions, let me know, and I'd be happy to get you some additional information or try to respond the best I can. Sticking on the annual report themes, you also have a copy of the Clackamas River Water Providers. This is an organization that we're a member of. And so every year they put together all the different activities that they've participated in and information. So it's a great little reference tool for you as well. They put a lot of work and effort in putting that together. I also included some information about the governor's efforts to develop a 100-year water vision. And so the reason I brought this to your attention is because there is actually a meeting in Gresham on October 22nd that at least the way they're characterizing, I think, is more geared to policymakers to attend. And there's also a virtual meeting that they'll be holding as well. If you're interested in attending, this is an opportunity. I'm not saying we need to have anybody attend, I'm just making you aware of an opportunity. Staff will be participating, actually I'll be participating in the more technical meeting that will be held in Salem in November. So we'll be monitoring it from that standpoint, and then also Special Districts, their governmental affairs staff monitors it for us. And then last in your packet, I want to make sure you're aware of the fact that we got a most recent customer newsletter that will be going out with the billing bills that will be going out later this month. Now referencing the items in the agenda item 6, the actual written management report. Real quick, just as it relates to the Regional Water Providers Consortium, we had a really successful emergency water drill where we were able to have a number of different water providers bring their water treatment trailers, water distribution trailers, overland pipe systems, emergency manned vehicle and stuff. It was exciting because we had an opportunity to host it, which made for an impressive scene. In hindsight, I wish we would have flown the drone and got a photo of it, because it was very good, but there's some other photos that we'll be sharing later. It was also nice because the Regional Water Providers Consortium really took time to express their appreciation to CRW, not only for hosting it, they really valued the participation of our staff, and especially helping with some of the technical pieces, and we were able to advise them on that. And then also big kudos and appreciation for our own Don Bunyard for his efforts in organizing that event and being, what were you, logistics? No, you weren't logistics.
Operations
section chief. That's right. So,
I just, not to interrupt, but I was part of a planning team from the Regional Water Providers Consortium, and I have to double what they had to say about our staff, because we had our operations crew down there just doing whatever it took to make sure things came together. Our water quality staff were down there taking water samples to see what the results were from these new treatment trailers, helping agencies that hadn't used their treatment trailers before get them set up. And so, and just, it runs downhill, and so really kudos to CRW.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was great. It was recognition there at the events, recognition separate in an email from the consortium staff that sent me a nice email, and then also the board meeting, the consortium board meeting last week, that was something that was noted as well. So it was nice to have that involvement from our staff and be able to share that expertise and for what was contributed to a successful event. Moving on, we've already talked as it relates to the Clackamas River water providers as far as the annual report, so you have that information there. And then I do want to spend a second though to talk a little bit about the South Fork Water Board transmission main repairs. You've received email updates on the email or on the main break. I think one of the nice things that, again, actually at the last South Fork Water Board meeting, CRW staff received some real nice kudos as far as our participation, our on-call person with Josh, and they appreciated his responsiveness. Jason LaVeria was also there as our water distribution our supervisor, and so and then we had our water quality lab open up to process the water quality samples for them and stuff. So they were very thankful for our response and participation in that. That was, I think it was a good opportunity for us to also coordinate with them and be a part of that process as well. This was South Fork's water main to fix, and so they were in control and in charge of that event, and were able to successfully address that very quickly.
Wasn't there just another water break not that long ago in South Fork? It seems.
Yeah, so the first one was a main break, and then
Okay.
we actually had a boil water event that had nothing to do with the South
Right.
Fork
Okay.
issue. That was our issue, where it was a
Mhm.
very limited circumstance, and so you also received some information about that. And then a third piece was there was a leaking blow-off area that the concern was is that we're going to have to shut down that 30-inch water main again and allow for that repair. But after things were excavated and they had a chance to look at it, they actually figured out a different way
Okay.
to make that repair where it wouldn't require that shutdown, so we didn't need to do that last shutdown. But again, another good example where we got to participate in coordination on that
Our
event.
apologies, Carol, that something happened while it was on your watch and you decided to be gone, but it was.
I was
handled-
making lots of phone calls at the airport before I got.
No, it was handled very well, and it's appreciated.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a little nervous when my phone started blowing up that morning, so.
Well, did you see the water running down the road? I mean, the salmon were going down.
Yeah, that was pretty
You
bad.
know, it was pretty bad. Yeah, there was as much yeah, there was, yeah.
I don't live down there,
Oh,
so, yeah.
No, it
So,
was nasty.
yeah, so, hopefully we tried to keep the board informed of what was taking place as we went, so, you should have a trail of emails and stuff, initially from me and then from Carol, kind of keeping you apprised of what was taking place in that process. Any questions on that yet? Okay. Next thing I just want to bring up, because I think it was kind of a fun thing, is we actually sponsored a blood drive with our neighbors here, VCA, the vet clinic. And so we hosted that, many thanks to Ted Abora with our office, who helped kind of spearhead and coordinate this event. I think it was great for the two organizations to work together. We ended up having 23 donors, which the Red Cross likes to point out that resulted in enough blood to help up to 51 hospital patients. And so that was nice that we were able to contribute that. There was even a little contest to see who could fill the bag quickest, and so very impressively, we had our own Jennifer Ross, one of our customer service folks, that was able to fill the bag in just over 4 minutes.
Oh,
So that was
wow,
pretty
a
impressive.
trophy to be had.
And some of us were just trying not to pass out. when we did it. So I thought that was pretty good.
Last couple of times I didn't take my.
So yeah, I just want to personally thank Ted and just everybody at CRW who participated. Obviously, giving blood is a valuable gift to give back. So as far as the emergency management report, I'll just bring your attention. We've got a couple items as it relates to the VHF radio system. I think that's done, final. So
Great.
this gives you kind of the final numbers. so you probably won't be hearing about the VHF radio system updates or anything like that in
That's good.
future reports. The next two items, though, we are gonna spend some time in a future work session. We really want to dig into the emergency operations plan and where things are at with that. And then also really spell out for the board what's taking place as it relates to a federal requirement to address the American Water Infrastructure Act, where it requires us to do a risk and resiliency assessment and emergency response plan, which these are things we're already working on and I've already put together many pieces. But now we have a federal requirement that we want to make sure we're doing a good job of meeting all the legal or the legislative intent of that. So we will probably in the January timeframe, I think we'll bring forward, and we won't give you the big documents, but at least we'll show you the documents that we've been working on. So a lot of work's going into that.
How much is the board involved with emergency planning? I mean, I would be more like mostly staff, but I'm not sure where our responsibility would be.
Yeah, so we'll spell that out as
Yeah.
part of that review.
Okay.
Because in the end, if there's an emergency, you do have to make some decisions as far as authorizing us.
Okay.
And so there's a role, yes, obviously in a major event, you know, staff is gonna be working on most of that, but I think it's important that the board is aware of the fact that we have the plan, that we're complying with the law. We want our customers to feel secure that we have a plan and we're moving forward.
Okay,
with it. So,
great.
yes, sir.
Has the county finished with the implementation of their system?
Yeah,
They went out and got a big
Oh, the radio
bunch of
system?
bugs,
that's
yeah.
right.
Yeah, so it's actually, it's even a bigger deal, and I'll kind of defer to Don on that, the C800 system.
Yeah, they're in the process. They're building, I think, 16 additional radio tower sites in Clackamas County, and they were having some issues with securing those sites, because you can't just put these things anywhere. And I think they're a year out from implementation before they'll have it done.
Yes.
Yeah,
So they're still working on it.
yeah, it's in process. We need them done.
Just in, real quick, looking ahead, items, we have our agenda prep meeting, so that's for Commissioners French and Commissioner Anger on October 23rd. So if there's any topics or anything, please make sure you get the topics to them prior to that point. Also, just make sure that we're clear, on the October board work session, there's also going to be a special meeting to allow you to take action on a property item. And we did move that meeting to Tuesday, October 22nd.
From the 28th, is that correct?
Correct. And so that'll be a Tuesday. Normally we do them Mondays, and so please make sure you're checking your online calendars to make sure that lines up. We'll also be kicking off our strategic planning process. So we do have a strategic planning consultant on board. Shelley Perini will be assisting us with that, and so she'll start to outline kind of the approach and some of the expectations as it relates to the board and how we hope to have you involved in that. And then we'll be tapping you to get ideas, because we're in the research phase of the strategic plan. So we're gonna want to identify a number of people to participate in either interviews or in focus groups. And then we're gonna want the board to participate in the focus groups by maybe introducing the focus group and welcoming people, or not introducing, but welcoming people to the focus groups, and then it'd be a good opportunity for you to observe some of the discussion as well. And then just Veterans Day is November 11th, so our office will be closed in observation of that. Couple items I just want to highlight that aren't in the report. One is we did receive our first signed agreement for conducting cyanotoxin monitoring. So the Willamette Intake Facilities Partnership, which is a partnership, I think, of 5 different water providers, has signed the agreement that you've authorized me to enter, or allowed me to enter into with the different organizations. They're only gonna use it in an emergency situation or for non-routine type samples. Their regulatory samples are currently done by the DEQ lab, because they're doing the regulatory ones for free, so. And then, although the conference isn't until February, I wanna at least get you thinking about the Special Districts Association annual conference will be in Seaside. The registration won't open until December 2nd, but if we know, we can get you signed up. So let Karen know if you haven't already that you're interested in.
What's the date on that again?
It's February 6th through 9th. So I think it's like the evening of the 6th to show up. And so it's a Thursday evening, and it's conferences all day Friday, Saturday, and then you head home on Sunday. So,
Usually there's something in the morning, or there was.
yeah, they've in the past, they've had a speaker that Sunday morning, and they've actually gotten away from that and just had more of a breakfast and let everybody head out the door.
Oh gee.
We'll wait till
Go ahead, Rusty.
On the cyanotoxin testing that we do, do we subscribe to a service that provides proficiency samples and scores them?
Oh, boy, and of course, I don't have any, I'll have to get back to you
Suzanne,
on
what do
that.
you do?
Oh, okay.
So we do, so, yeah, I'm gonna hold on, I think I have an answer for you, but I'm gonna hold off to double check it with the experts before I say.
Usually it's something that you receive like quarterly or every tertial. You get so many samples and you test and provide results and they score the results.
Yeah, I don't,
To provide accreditation for your laboratory performance.
Sure I have.
right, so I'll have to double check and see what, ongoing requirements we have for our ORLAP certification.
So check the
But- But, so I'll get back to you on that. The one deal is,
I knew I didn't have this.
I'll be honest, on the cyanotoxin stuff, we're still plowing the way on this one. So this is,
Still finding our way.
well, no, we're actually leading the way.
Oh.
So this is one of these things where, there's been a lot of work that, Suzanne and her staff have done.
I suspect that they do, but I just
Yeah,
wanted to.
this has not been a simple project,
Oh,
so. And then,
I wouldn't expect.
just, last thing is, reminder, we do have, what I believe will be a very brief executive session, tonight, so don't go anywhere right after this meeting. We'll adjourn into the executive session and then, but I hope to get you going soon, so. And that's it.
Okay, any public comment? No? All right, the last thing is the number 9 is commission reports and reimbursements. Any reports from your various escapades with other entities?
Wife got her shopping trip in last month.
Got her home from Ireland. Okay, well, I did go to Sunrise, and it was with sadness that I report that Eric Hopefield has resigned. He seems to think that having a house on a golf course in, was it Redmond, is more important.
Eagle Crest on the 10th fairway.
Yes, he resigned as of September 30th. And I told him, I hated to see that. I remember the first couple of meetings going to Sunrise, and I mean, he was sitting there, and I'll tell you what, those financial reports, he's back there and he's questioning, I'm like, my gosh, they're that thick. He reads those things. Well, then you realize, yeah, you need to go through those things, and because his questions were, I mean, oh, I never thought about checking for that. I mean, you learn a lot by going to these other meetings, and he's going to be sorely missed. Their Reservoir 11, due to for the rain we've been getting, they've I think kind of decided to postpone working on their backfill and stuff, and just provide kind of erosion protection and wait till things dry out in August, to finish it up. And their new building, the preliminary design concept is completed. And they named an employee of the year. His name is Kevin Lane. He's been there a year, and from what they tell me, he is phenomenal and does it all. And He does, and he pitches in wherever he can, and he's, you know, he isn't disgruntled yet, but then again, he's only been there a year, so, you know. And they also they reviewed and revised their fee schedules, including their SDC charges, and worked all that out. So they had a pretty busy meeting. So, and that's it. Anybody else? Yes, Rusty?
Yeah, I got a chance to attend South Fork Water Board's meeting,
The 22 minutes of it?
all 22 minutes of it. Yes, that was very good. And I also had the chance this month to sit on the agenda committee for this meeting, so that was also informative.
Remember, what happens at agenda meetings stays at agenda meetings.
Oh, I see.
Okay, anyone else? All right, I am going to adjourn this and take a 5-minute break. We will adjourn, and then we will come back for an executive session to discuss information or records that are exempt from law by public inspection pursuant to ORS 192.6602F and 192.3559, and to conduct deliberations with persons designated by the governing body to carry on labor negotiations, ORS 192.6602D. We are adjourned.
No,
No.
we're not,
Not labor, real property.
real property.
Where did it, no, mine says labor
Oh, I'm
negotiations.
sorry.
Okay,
I may have
property.
given you the old one.
To conduct deliberations with persons designated by governing body to negotiate property real estate transactions, ORS 192.6602E, I stand corrected.
My apologies.
Sure about that?
Oh, hell, I don't know, let's just go talk about it, we'll see you in a few minutes.